The first image is a sun-creased snapshot, a backyard sprinkler, a crooked hand-painted sign that reads Adam's Family Fair, and two girls tangled in a banner. One brushes grass stains from the other's dress. Lauren is 14 in that frame, knees patched, hands steady as she pins the sign. Meline, 12, grins with paint still on her fingers. The sound is not narration but a mother's voice on a cassette, warm, proud, labeling the tape Meline Art Recital. The moment lingers, then the tape catches. Cut to the kitchen now, fluorescent light, thrift store table, a refrigerator smothered with pictures. Meline's watercolor of Cape Cod is attached dead center. Lauren's report card sits in a magnet frame, pushed to the side. The camera slides across small injuries, a laptop bag patched with duct tape, a stack of application letters tied with a rubber band. Lauren packs them carefully, folding each into a blue envelope like it's fragile. At school, Lauren strides down a corridor of lockers, a practiced composure worn like armor. Debate trophies glint in a showcase. Her name is engraved on the plaque but the glass refuses to reflect her face. She tutors under a fluorescent hum, explaining calculus to teenagers 2 years younger than her. They look at her as if she were a guidepost. Meline is trending in a different sphere. Notifications ping, a teacher's text praising a prodigy, an invitation to private lessons that sounds like a new orbit opening. Home that night, a birthday table set with cheap candles. Lauren's present is pragmatic, an orange calculator, a thrift store sweater. 2 months later, Meline unwraps a sleek art tablet, a professional desk lamp placed like a promise. The camera lingers on Lauren's hands, small, calloused, folding the grocery bag holding her gift. The scene doesn't shout betrayal, it builds a slow ache. Lauren smiles, practices gratitude as a skill. Voiceover filters in, Lauren's voice, steady but intimate, not accusatory. They told me I was capable the same way you tell a plant it's sturdy, you don't water it, you tell it to grow. The words are dry, precise. They tell the viewer not what to feel but what to notice, a pattern. University acceptance letters arrive like weather. Lauren's are crisp, from places with long names. Scholarship envelopes dent her fingers. Meline's looks like a different season, an art school acceptance with a note about needing a portfolio deposit. At dinner, the family sits close but the conversation occupies different orbits. The camera centers on a single exchange, the father, a neat man with small hands, setting down his fork and pronouncing the decision as if reciting the dinner blessing, we've saved for their education. Meline will need this, her work requires equipment. The mother squeezes Meline's hand like a benediction. Lauren asks quietly, and what about me? The question lands like a stone at the bottom of a well. The mother's answer is soft, almost reasonable, you don't need it the same way. You'll manage. The line, she deserves it, but you do not, is not delivered as a scream, it's a measured sentence that settles like cold glass. That night Lauren sits on the edge of her bed, acceptance letters spread across the blanket like a constellation she cannot name. There's no dramatic collapse, only a small, inexorable resolve assembling itself, no theater, just the quick, precise mechanics of a plan. She will not ask for pity, she will not expect fairness. She will calculate, scrimp, and make decisions that hurt now, so they won't hurt later. Outside, rain starts, muffled against the window. In Lauren's hand, a list of jobs she plans to take. The camera closes on a single line she writes underlined twice, I will build the thing that matters. No promise to anyone else, only an address to the future. The tape player clicks off, the snapshot of the sprinkler blurs, and a new rhythm begins, the quiet, relentless work of someone determined to be seen on their own terms. College arrives as a mat of schedules and fluorescent light. Lauren moves through the campus like a compacted storm, early library shifts, a packed lecture hall, a phone stitched to her hip with reminders. Her apartment is a narrow rectangle with an indent of a sink that never fully drains, books stacked like scaffolding. Meline's dorm photos appear in Lauren's feed, sunlight through skylights, canvases propped like altars. When Lauren scrolls, the images do not sting so much as remind her of different economies, time versus attention. Work becomes choreography. Dawn at the university library, Lauren scans returned books, stamps receipts, answers student questions with the smooth patience of someone who knows the cost of distraction. At noon she tutors, voice lowering, as if knowledge can be lent in small denominations. At night she waits tables under neon panels at Joe's Diner, balancing plates and tips and a playlist of the names she will one day carve into a company. The shift ends when the sky is a bruised plum. Her feet ache. Her hands tremble sometimes when she writes, too much caffeine, not enough sleep, but the tremor looks like commitment. Intermittent threads break the grind. Alicia, the nursing student from the floor above, brings soup, no judgment, just presence. Dr. Jenkins, who teaches algorithms like a composer, leaves a voicemail that sounds like more than professional concern. Recordings are waiting. Take them. Come by. Tyler appears as a practical solution, initially a grading job that pays better than a library shift and later as a companion who fits around the edges of Lauren's schedule like a quiet calendar. None of them tinker with the central hurt, they offer tools and a mirror. On a rainy evening, Lauren sketches an app flow on a napkin between a tutoring session and a lecture. The idea is elegant in its modesty: connect students who can help each other at price points anyone can afford, match by learning style, not just subject. It's born of grocery line logic, how to stretch earnings to pay for both food and textbooks. Dr. Williams, the entrepreneurship professor, reads the napkin like one who recognizes a map. Apply for the innovation grant, she says. This isn't just an assignment. The grant application is shot through with near misses. Lauren submits at 11:58 p.m., her upload stuttering, and email errors and returns at 12:03. Tyler sits with her then, hands steadying the laptop like a surgeon's assistant. They resubmit. The grant arrives as a small, incandescent yes, $5,000. It's not transformative by itself, but it functions like a lever: less time at the diner, a prototype that grows from sketch to scrape of code. Team formation is pragmatic: a designer who borrows Lauren's ramen, a marketing major with a knack for language, a back-end student who loves ugly problems. They meet in empty lecture halls at midnight, breathing in dry erase markers and fluorescent dust. The prototype is clumsy and brilliant in equal measure: late-night sessions where the app refuses to accept payments and a user flow breaks because a tutor's profile truncated a key field. Each crash is a lesson. Meanwhile, the family dynamic continues its small cruelties. Parent visits are punctuated with questions that feel like tests. "How are your classes?" her mother asks, as if Lauren's answer should be concise and unthreatening. Lauren offers the safe reply to good, and watches the conversation loop back to Meline's upcoming show. Once, at a restaurant, her father's eyes flick to his watch during Lauren's brief mention of an internship interview. The sting has a new texture now: it fuels work rather than despair. Lauren's health frays but does not snap. Pneumonia takes her down midterm season, an argument between body and will. She collapses during a shift. A coworker carries her to the health clinic. The diagnosis reads like a miscalculation: bed rest, antibiotics, 10 days without work. Panic arrives, not theatrical, but sharp: rent unpaid, tuition bills due. She calls her parents in a voice that measures how much to ask for. They are sorry, they say. Their answer is logistical: we just paid Meline's semester. We can't help right now. The line cuts like a practiced instep. Recovery is intimate. Alicia makes tea, Tyler brings textbooks and records, Dr. Jenkins forwards lectures. When Lauren returns to campus, she carries with her a new attitude: failure resisted, not feared. The app, he now called Study Connect, begins to behave like a thing with its own gravity. Students sign up. Tutors post profiles with modest hourly rates. The matching algorithm, Lauren's obsession, starts to reduce friction. It's not yet press coverage or investor jargon, it's a string of users and reviews that read like small validations. At the semester's end, the team applies to the Northeast Collegiate Innovation Competition. Preparation is brutal: business plans, cash flow projections, slide decks polished until the edges gleam. On the night before the competition, Lauren lies awake, thinking of the tiny decisions that led here, the nights of ramen, the refusals of pity, the quiet scaffolding of choices. She's no longer proving anything to anyone at the kitchen table, she's trying to prove the idea can scale. If it does, then the ledger that once recorded absence might finally be balanced in a new currency, impact. The competition hall smells of coffee and nervous cologne. University names banner the walls, judges murmur behind portfolios. Lauren's hands are steady when she steps to the podium, but her chest is a drum. The screen behind her flickers with study connects interface, profiles, scheduling, the algorithms matching logic visualized as shifting tiles. The first slide is a simple line, white on black, education shouldn't be a luxury. It lands like an oath. The demo goes off script. A back-end query times out mid-presentation, an investor's laptop refuses to display the video. For a thin second the room holds a collective breath, the kind that either snaps a project or tempers it. Lauren doesn't panic. She reads the room, her team's faces in the first row, Dr. Williams' encouraging nod, and pivots to storytelling, describing the user she can't show, a student working 2 jobs who found a tutor for $8 an hour. Her voice steadies into clarity. The judge's interest shifts from interface glitches to the human problem at the heart. They win. The first place announcement is a rush, applause, a trembling hand on a crystal plaque, Dr. Williams' eyes wet with pride. The prize is $25,000 and a meeting with an angel investor who, during the Q&A, leans forward and says, "You built this from necessity." "I built my company while scrubbing floors. I'd like to help." The handshake that follows is practical and electric. Overnight, Study Connect changes lanes, seed funding conversations, incorporation paperwork, early user growth metrics that make Lauren's spreadsheet look alive. Acquisition whispers follow, the kind that start in coffee shops, move into boardrooms, and then arrive at lawyers' inboxes. Edutech Innovations, a major education firm, floats a term sheet. The number they mention at first is absurd and dizzying, millions. For a moment, life splits on an axis. This was supposed to be a tool to help peers, it has become currency. It exposes a paradox, the thing born from scarcity becomes a windfall. Lauren feels the old childhood ledger balancing, but the scale tips with moral questions she hadn't planned to weigh. The twist, however, is not the money. It's the secrecy. Lauren decides to withhold Study Connect from her parents deliberately. The reasons are granular rather than theatrical. She wants the reveal to be unmediated, she wants them to witness status change publicly, she wants to see their faces without the filter of apologies. Tyler argues for honesty, Dr. Williams advises measured disclosure, her team worries about legalities and timing. Each counsel arrives with its own ethics. Lauren chooses the reveal map to graduation, epic and public, with PR weight that will land the lesson hard. All of this intensity presses on the private sphere. Meline, on a European summer program, messages regularly with sun-bleached photos and shy confessions of awe. She texts once, "Your hours must have decreased, did you get a better job?" Lauren's replies are clipped and careful. She is not cruel, she is strategic. The distance between the sisters widens in a new direction, determination on one side, unknowing on the other. As negotiations move to final terms, Lauren learns the peculiar loneliness of high-stakes discretion. Contracts require non-disclosure, press launches require timing, investors want a timeline. Lauren signs with a hand that remembers the rhythm of library stampers and diner plates. At home, the parents prepare Meline's graduation itinerary, Brooklyn apartments, deposit checks, a plan of celebration. They never ask, "What about Lauren?" Not out of malice now, but out of habitual blindness. This indifference is a pressure cooker that Lauren can hear whistling. The day before graduation, a late-night call pierces Lauren's focus. Her father, unaccustomed to dialing without agenda, leaves a voicemail about travel logistics and a dinner reservation. Beneath the practicalities is a tone Lauren has heard before, expectation of performance. She listens and, for the first time in months, contemplates not just the satisfaction of vindication but what comes after, reconciliation, distance, or something in between. The moment is a small, private panic that morphs into resolve. She will own this on her terms. That night, papers and contracts crowd her small dining table. Tyler sorts logistics, Dr. Williams runs press contacts, and the investor's legal counsel pings with a final clause. Lauren reads and then rewrites a speech in her head, no gloating, no vengeance, only facts and a reallocation of recognition. When sleep finally arrives, it is thin and precise, as if the world has been edited down to a single, bright frame, her name, the stage lights, the faces in the audience. The twist has given her power. It has also given her a responsibility she had not anticipated, to wield success in a way that does not become the same kind of cruelty she once absorbed. Graduation morning feels cinematic because of how ordinary it really is, a zipper pull, the hiss of a borrowed iron, the practice tug of a mortarboard. Lauren dresses deliberately, not to flaunt, but to align image with identity. Tyler arrives with coffee and the small ritual of tightening a necklace. Dr. Williams texts a single emoji, a red heart. The team assembles behind the scenes like a quiet army. Harold, the angel investor, arrives in a suit that looks expensive and honest. His presence reframes the auditorium into a venue where the personal and professional will collide. Family photos are a choreography of proximity. The parents hover around Meline, who glows in the way someone trained to be looked at knows how to glow. Lauren slips into position for a shot with them. The camera captures the slight lean they make toward Meline, an unconscious preference. It is small and stinging. She smiles for the lenses, and while the flash freezes expressions, her mind replays years of minor betrayals, a report card left on a counter, a birthday present that was never a tool, not a trinket. The ceremony proceeds, speeches that sound like homilies about perseverance, the ritual calling of names. Lauren sits still, cords and tassels resting like punctuation on her chest. The business school segment arrives early. She feels the room tightens with the expectation of order. Then the announcement, for exceptional entrepreneurial achievement, the dean's voice rolls out like a drumroll. The title lands, Entrepreneurial Excellence, and everyone looks at her. Spotlights find Lauren. Her head is an orb of white light in a darkened auditorium. She walks across the stage with the composed gait of someone who has timed every step. The screen behind her blooms with the Study Connect logo, numbers scrolling, user metrics, campuses reached. Cameras angle in, whispers thread through the audience like a wind. Her parents' faces change in that instant, confusion to curiosity to recognition, faster than any apology can form. She accepts the Crystal Award and, unexpectedly, the dean asks her to say a few words. Lauren breathes in, and the auditorium finds a quiet so complete it might be a held breath. Her speech is small and precise. She names those who lifted her, Dr. Williams, Tyler, her team, not her parents. She paints Study Connect in human strokes, a student who needed help at 2 a.m., a tutor who earned pocket money, a match that became momentum. She tells the story without a target, no theatrical accusation, but the missing names are an accusation in themselves. After the business segment ends and the arts program rolls forward, the president steps up with a surprise. A press release has been embargoed to coincide with commencement. The acquisition flickers across the screens, headline, amount, the logo of Edutech Innovations. Gasps swell like a wave. Cameras swivel. Reporters lean forward. Lauren watches her parents as they look at what the world now knows. It is an image of reorientation, their assumptions challenged, their sense of scale recalculated. The field outside becomes a theater of arrivals, reporters, supporters, friends. Lauren is pulled in different directions by congratulations, impromptu interviews, the hum of public curiosity. Through the crowd she spots her parents standing on the lawn, smaller somehow, as if a life-sized perspective has shifted. Her mother approaches with an eager, sudden embrace, an attempt to graft herself onto what has just happened. The father's handshake trembles between pride and awkwardness. They ask, "Why didn't you tell us?" The question is more than curiosity, it is a demand for inclusion retroactively earned. Lauren steps back, a measured distance that is no longer about money but about narrative ownership. "You had the chance to be there," she says quietly. "You chose not to." The words are not shouted, they are a ledger entry handed back. Meline appears then, barreling through with a look that is equal parts stunned and sincere. She hugs Lauren, and for the first time outside of parental frames, their connection looks reciprocal. Meline whispers an apology that sounds like a bridge, "I'm so proud. I didn't know." It is small but honest. Lauren returns the hug, but holds the space between them like a new rule. The climax is not a battle, it is a revelation with consequences. Lauren has not shouted triumph, she has calibrated exposure so that recognition arrives in public, where it cannot be softened by parental reinterpretation. The applause has less to do with revenge than with redefinition. Where once the family table's ledger read worthy and not, the public square now offers a different currency: respect, checks, title. The change is structural rather than theatrical, and its quiet precision is what makes it devastatingly effective. The press surround is immediate and insistently friendly. Microphones extend like cordial branches. A camera records Lauren speaking in a tone she has honed to measured honesty. Study Connect began as a solution for friends and classmates who couldn't afford traditional tutoring. Today it's reached tens of thousands, and we're partnering to scale access. Questions volley about acquisition terms, future plans, what it was like balancing school and a startup. Lauren answers with clarity. The numbers are not brags but proof points, a ledger that cannot be waved away. Her parents hover in the background of interviews, the way strangers hover at a reception. The father's jaw tightens, the mother's hand is an unsteady bouquet of congratulations. Reporters, smelling narrative angles, ask about family support. "Did your parents help?" one asks, teeth bared in curiosity. There is a hush. The answer is a private history made public not through rancor but through omission. Lauren says, "I had mentors and teammates who believed." It's true, and it reframes the story from deprivation to collective uplift. The emotional apex arrives in a private exchange outside a press tent. Her mother, eyes rimmed, voice oddly small, begs, "Why didn't you tell us? We could have been proud." There is real need in the plea, shaped by regret but smelling faintly of self-defense. Lauren listens, and for the first time decides how to measure the cost of truth. "I wanted you to see me," she replies. "Not to be told later that you always knew. I needed you to feel it." The phrasing matters, it's not a demand for money, but for witnessed existence. The father steps in, more defensive than repentant at first. "We thought hard choices made you stronger," he says, circling old rationales. It's the tired architecture of parental theory: forge the child in fire so they learn to stand. Lauren holds that gaze and recites the line that once forged her small body of shame like metal: "You told me I didn't deserve the same investment." She says it without flourish, and the words land with a specific weight. The father's face flickers, surprise, then recollection, then shame at the echo of his own earlier voice glaring back at him. Meline watches from the periphery, grief and guilt braided together. She steps forward, voice trembling. "I didn't know, all I saw was someone helping me. I didn't ask why." That confession is its own form of apology, unadorned and young, and it shifts the dynamic from accusation to shared culpability. The scene does not resolve into cinematic reconciliation, instead it blossoms into an honest disarray. Tears come, awkward questions are asked, and the family tries articulations that are clumsy but sincere. Lauren does not forgive with a single sentence. She listens as the parents try and fail to reframe their memories without excusing behavior. The father admits, haltingly, "When Harold told me about you, I was surprised. We had blinders on." His words are a start, thin but honest. The climax's power is that it refuses easy closure. Instead, It permits a confrontation that forces every character into the light of reality, parents into accountability, Meline into awareness, Lauren into the moral authority of someone who has endured and created. The acquisition press release is not a final victory lap but a new beginning, one that circulates consequence and invites negotiation rather than passive acceptance. In that space, Lauren chooses boundaries. She will not erase the past, but she will not let it govern her future. A year passes like a carefully edited montage. Study Connect integrates with campus systems, the office grows, and Lauren learns the strange rhythms of leadership, stakeholder calls at dawn, mentorship programs at noon, late nights drafting policy language that reflects the equity she wanted at the project's start. Tyler joins an engineering team nearby. They share small domestic rituals that feel earned. The condo overlooking the bay is bright and spare. Money changes logistics but not the cup of coffee pulled in a familiar hand. At home in Boston, small shifts occur. The parents call more often, their words softer where once they were blunt. The change is not wholly comfortable. There is a new etiquette of conversation where guilt and gratitude sit in uneasy chairs. Thanksgiving becomes a site of honest work rather than staged forgiveness. In the kitchen, knives and cutting boards create a steady percussion while voices find a new rhythm. Lauren listens when her mother speaks without being defensive. "We made mistakes," the mother says, the sentence stripped of rationalization. The father, who once measured the world in ledgers and investments, now measures it in his daughter's steady gaze. There is a tentative accounting, no full absolution, but a willingness to hold the truth. Meline and Lauren's relationship develops into one less theatrical and more practical. They build rituals that are not about performance, an occasional gallery visit where Meline explains technique and Lauren asks questions out of curiosity, not comparison, weekend calls where they trade small annoyances and triumphs. Meline begins teaching art to underserved kids, an act that reads like penance and purpose combined, privilege turned outward. Their sisterhood softens into mutual support rather than rivalry. Therapy becomes an anchor for Lauren. The sessions unspool behaviors she thought were strengths, overwork, self-sufficiency, into inherited patterns. Dr. Fisher helps Lauren name desires that are not about proving worth but belonging. The work is not neat. Lauren sometimes bristles when a parent offers congratulations that smell of delayed entitlement. She sets boundaries, conversations about money are stopped, requests for retroactive credit are met with gentle firmness. These choices are acts of self-respect, not punishment. The Adams Educational Equity Scholarship is announced on a modest stage at Boston University. Lauren speaks with a clarity honed by years of calculation and a tenderness hard-earned. She explains the scholarship's purpose: to fund working students whose talent is eclipsed by circumstance. The first 5 recipients step forward, each with a story that echoes Lauren's: late shifts, skinny paychecks, relentless drive. The applause is not just for the donor, it is for the people on stage, visible, invested in. Her parents attend. There's a moment when Lauren looks at them, not expecting theatrical reconciliation, but hoping for witness. Her mother meets her gaze and nods, this time more like a person acknowledging a truth than a parent rescuing image. It is enough. It is not the sweeping forgiveness Lauren once imagined, but it is the reparable kind that sustains life. Years later, reading a letter from a scholarship recipient who now teaches at a community college, Lauren recognizes the multiplication of small mercies. The letter speaks of a student who could now afford childcare while completing a degree. The change ripples outward. On a Tuesday, in a downtown coffee shop, Lauren tells Tyler she no longer wakes expecting to be dismissed. He slides his hand across the table, and she lets it rest there, steady. They are planning a wedding that is small and lucid. Lauren thinks about the line she wrote on a napkin years ago: "I will build the thing that matters." The thing mattered then in a practical way and now in a different moral one. The story closes not with a single vindicating moment but with a series of quieter ones: a scholarship recipient's graduation, Meline's studio visit to a community center, a mother who learns to ask questions rather than assume answers. Lauren's worth is no longer a ledger entry to prove to others, it is a set of commitments she honors anew, to equity, to honesty, to the sister who grew beside her. The final image returns to the backyard, a sprinkler, two women untangling a banner. This time the camera holds both faces in the same light. The tape plays without catching. The music is a low, steady chord, not triumphant fanfare, but the hum of a life rearranged toward justice.